So, hi, Welcome to Noise Podcast. I'm Shane.
I'm Glory.
And we're here with
Drew from Felicity.
And there's some questions today about their new album, Mixtape for the End of the World, Volume 1. So, congrats on that, by the way. How are you guys feeling about the response to it so far?
Thanks so much. It's been awesome. It's weird kind of being in this new world where you release all these singles before an album, and it's like, wow, there's so many streams on this album. It's like, well, how many of those came out like before the actual album came out? But so far, like, response has been great. It was definitely anticipated. We hadn't done an album since 2021 was when our last one came out. And we worked on this one for a really long time. So, it's finally out.
Hell yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Well, the album absolutely rips. Digging it for sure.
Thank you.
Phenomenal. What a fucking groove, man.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I know we were BSing before this started that, the last time we spoke, you guys were in the studio potentially working on this very record that we're chatting about today. I'm curious about the timeline for this. When you guys started writing, when you had masters in hand, rough dates, they don't have to be exact. Just want to get a scope on things.
Yeah, we started recording this in 2021. We were actually in the studio just starting working on this when our previous album, before this one, Dear Universe, came out. So we were probably talking about Dear Universe at that point, but we were working on this. And why it kind of took a little bit longer than maybe the normal album cycle was because we went into that process kind of with not much. We went in really raw for the first time. Normally we had like tons of demos. We'd been coming up with all these ideas. We really didn't have that. We just had like a month booked in the studio. So a lot of these songs were actually written kind of like in the studio from scratch with our producer Andrew Wade as like an additional member of the band. And we wrote everything kind of there. And so not only that, we ended up writing 16 songs. And then after that, over the course of the last couple of years, we recorded a few more. So we were like, this ended up being a much bigger thing than we had originally anticipated. So hence that's why this is the volume 1, because there's a volume 2 that is also already done. So we're going to be able to follow this up really quickly, which is great. So it was kind of the first time as a band we've been ahead of schedule with our release schedule. But it did take us like a little bit longer to be able to be ahead of schedule. So we got some of these songs back in 2023, like the song Levitate came out in 2023. Emo Trash came out in 2023. And then a couple of them came out in 2024. And a bunch of them came out in 2024. And then we kind of left a couple songs for the 2025 big like album release.
Gotcha. Makes sense. I'm curious, like, was it intentional to go into the studio with kind of bare bones, not having much, or was it just a product of having the studio time booked and not having the time to get songs written? We
had some stuff that we kind of think we were just coming out of a period of, it was like right after COVID. And we were like, I don't know if we were just naive, but we always were like, this is going to be 2 months. This is going to be, maybe 3 months. All right, well, like 6 months, but then being like a year and a half. And we spent a lot of that time just working on, like, learning how to play the songs from Dear Universe live, because that album was going to come out right after COVID. So we spent all that time. So we hadn't been writing, and we kind of gotten out of the habit of writing because we had this album that ended up sitting on for almost 2 years. And then we came out of that and we're ready to release that. And so then we were focusing so much on the release plan for that. And then all of a sudden that studio time kind of snuck up on us. So we were working on ideas, and a couple of them did make it through the cut, but we didn't have the volume of ideas that we normally probably would have, or things that we really were in love with. So we just didn't have the time to really dedicate to it. And so we talked to, Andrew about that before we got in, and he was like, you know what, some of the best songs we did on Dear Universe, we wrote in the studio. So we just had a longer block of time, and it was the first time kind of going in that way, but it was great. It was different. It was unique. It pushed us out of our comfort zone. And when you're just working on writing and recording music for 8 hours a day, 5-6 days a week, it's crazy what you can do and how quickly you can advance and what you can come up with. So we definitely enjoyed it, but I don't think we're going to do that again. Just a month in the studio with nothing, like just a starting point. It was a lot of us sitting around like, what if there was a song that sounded like this?
So is there any meaning behind the album title or cover art?
Yeah, so the album title, we spent a lot of time trying to name this thing. And what we kind of came down with was the Mixtape Volume 1 and Volume 2. We kind of is almost sounds like a literal mixtape of the music that we kind of grew up with. It spans lots of different genres, especially like Volume 2 has even more genres kind of expansion, and has draws from a lot of like very direct influences. So it's kind of all just like a hodgepodge of music that we might have like physically been on like a mixtape of different bands and artists and stuff that's all like inspired us and really like direct inspiration of what made it to that.
Mhm.
And the way we kind of came out about it was like the end of the world could be taken like really literally. Like the world is ending, and this is like the mixtape I made for you to listen to as the world is ending. But it's also like the end of the world could also be like if you've gone through a breakup or you lost your job or whatever it is. It's like it feels like the world is ending when you hit those things. And this is kind of like our mixtape for whatever your end of the world kind of is. The cover art looks like pretty apocalyptic, but that's actually a picture I took of the ground, and then we kind of like edited and photoshopped it, kind of looked like the apocalypse. But
Yeah.
that cassette tape is a real cassette tape, and that's we actually sold the first 100 copies of the album were on an actual mixtape cassette that
That's
was
dope
hand
as hell.
drawn by the band. We did all the artwork for it by hand with Sharpies and just bought blank tapes and put the songs on them and did it. So that's like an actual copy of the mixtape that's in the on the art, and that's kind of how we did that.
That's so
That's really
fucking
cool.
dope. Hell yeah. So what song off the album took longest to write, and which one is your personal favorite?
The longest to write, I have to think. Um, I know some of them were done really, really quick. Off that one, I would say I think probably maybe Levitate, the title, the first track on it.
Mhm.
And that one, and there's a song on there called Code Breaker. Both of those are kind of these like kind of groovy, kind of sexy, kind of like just like dance rocky kind of songs, which was something that was new for us. And writing, and so the lyrical content was kind of trying to be very like not like relationship based, but more just kind of like seductive and poppy. And it was definitely out of our comfort zone. So the lyrics for those ones took a long time. The music came really easy, but the music took a really long time to write. As far as my favorite ones, it's tough because there's like my favorite one to play live, my favorite one to listen to, or the one that I'm like most proud of. But I think I really love the song Charlie Sheen we did. That song was really special to me and my favorite because we actually that one we did with John London, who's a producer and he's also the singer of the band Point North, and he actually featured on it too. But it was us like getting studio dates with him, which is really, really hard. You know, flying to LA, staying living in a hotel for a couple days and just again going in with nothing to just say we're going to be in the studio with John Lennon, we're going to write a song. And so it was versus when we were with Andrew and we had a month, it was like no, we have to have this done. And so it was like all business, and it just came so naturally and was so fun to make. And then we just had no idea what the reaction was, and the reaction was great. It was probably the most, you know, our biggest release we've done, and I'm definitely having Point North being part of it helps. But not only that, the reaction, like people loved the song right off the bat, and so that was probably my favorite.
That's dope. I was gonna ask how that collaboration came about. So I guess it was just kind of like obviously you're working with him in the studio. He's vibing on the song, and it's just like let me hop on this, basically.
Um, so we went into it originally just wanting to see if we could get a feature, like shooting our shot. Which
Yeah.
because we like I've been a massive fan ever since the first time I heard Hammer, like the
Yes.
cover, like
Yes.
when they were on We Are Triumphant way back then. And then seeing them grow is awesome. And then so I think we hit up we were on a record label called Adventure Cat, which is owned by Mike Kaminsky, who's a very well-known artist manager. That's his record label. It's kind of his like pet project for bands that he believes in. So we were on them, and he I think manages Point North. It's like
Yes.
on the same management company. So he kind of like opened the door for us to talk to him. And we were like, hey, this band, like, you know, this band really wants to work with you and get a feature. And John was like, if they want to come and do a song from scratch, I'm down for that and I'll feature on it. So we're like,
Oh,
oh,
that's
okay,
sweet.
even better. So it was definitely like we had to, it wasn't like, hey, here's a song we wrote. It was you know, us going and collaborating on a brand new song was how that came out.
That's dope.
Oh, I
Love
love
that.
that. Okay. So, how did the track list for the album come about? Did you guys write the opener to be the opener, closer to be the closer? Did you shuffle around and see what fits? What was that process like?
So it was actually we had 18 songs. And so it was first deciding like what are we gonna do with this? Like we have
Yeah.
it's so many songs, and we didn't want to like just do a 10-song album and then have some of these on the cutting room floor because we work so hard on them, we love them all so much, and they all equally like have their own place in our world. So
Mhm.
we decided to like split them half in a way that makes sense to us and hopefully makes sense to people when they hear volume two. And so it was like that first was deciding like what's on one and what's on two. And
Mhm.
it wasn't just like all the songs from volume two are unreleased because some of those songs like God Mode are on volume two, but that's already released.
Mhm.
And then it was really like we're really neurotic about album song order. Like just listening to it, we kind of like think we knew the beginning and the end, and then finding out the journey in the middle. But nothing was written specifically to be anywhere or anything. They were all written kind of as individual songs. But we listen and then sense the vibe is like the energy drop off from this song just doesn't work, or well this one ends in that G chord and this one starts in a G chord. So if you listen to them back to back, even though probably 99% of people will never listen to the thing like in the order.
Yeah.
But for the people that do, we really put a lot of thought into it. But it was like after the fact.
Gotcha.
Gotcha. So I'm really curious on how you guys decided on which tracks to go on which volume.
So we were trying to figure out what to do. It was first like we've always had this kind of like duality to the band where it's like we have some heavier stuff and some really like maybe like poppy stuff and then
Mhm.
stuff that's in between and pop punk or whatever it might be, and we've tried to like rein ourselves in and not do that, but every time we do it just ends up like we end up doing it more. I don't know, so we're just like we just accept it at this point of like this is kind of what it is, like um it's a little bit of everything. But we were like to release two things that are both like equally diverse. Does we've done that before. Like we
Mhm.
had their universe, which is kind of like pretty diverse, but we were like, let's actually hone in these two things to be their own work. So like I would say that the kind of second half is like a darker, kind of heavier
Mhm.
vibe, and there's probably 6, 7 unreleased songs on there that all kind of fit that vibe. And the first half is more lighter and fun and poppier. And that's kind of how we did it because we think it's easier for people to consume that way. Um,
Mhm.
and it's going to be fun because when we get to part two, we can kind of also tie that into like how we want to market our live show of being a little bit darker and more aggressive or whatever it might
Mm.
be. So
Yeah.
so that's kind of how we decided to do it.
Fuck
Gotcha. That
yeah.
makes sense. So where was your headspace at while you guys were creating this album?
It was so long ago.
Yeah, I was gonna
If
say,
you
yeah.
can remember, think back.
Who was
You
the
know.
president? Um, we had a lot of it was definitely like really a point where we didn't know what the task we had in front of us because our previous album was like the release day.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so that album came out and it was 2021. So we were just coming out of COVID and shows were like about to start happening. And even here in Florida, it was like that summer was when things started opening up and shows started happening. And even for down here, we were like one of the first to do that because we're crazy
Mhm.
down here in Florida. So it was that where it was like we didn't know when we were going to be able to play a show or do a release show for Dear Universe.
Mhm.
So we had really like just like let's just make more music. Let's make more music. It was never an intention or any type of idea. And then over the course of the next, I'd say like the beginning of 2022 was when we started kind of going viral on TikTok and songs
Mhm.
like The Weather really started blowing up and Wish You Weren't Here. But all this other music had already been really started and some of those songs were done and in the works and we were writing more and more. We didn't write everything that month. We kind of wrote a lot and then try to just kept adding from there.
Yeah.
So we didn't realize that by the time this thing came out that we would be kind of a viral TikTok band, that we'd have the following we do. And so I think that was a blessing because there was really no pressure on us
Mhm.
to be like, we have to follow up the weather. We didn't
Exactly.
even know the weather. The weather didn't go viral. It was just another song on Spotify with
Mhm.
whatever it was, where now it is like 4 million streams or whatever it is. So it was like very carefree, which I think was a blessing to us because we weren't like,
Mhm.
let's make another one of these or let's do this or this or this. It allowed us to just truly completely still be ourselves with taking risk and chances and stuff. And I think you hear that with a lot of this stuff. It's still very diverse and some new stuff we've never tried before, and nothing really sounds like stuff that we maybe done in the past. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then that going in and kind of unexpectedly having that mindset because you didn't know that these songs were going to go viral after these songs were done. Seeing the success of those songs now, it kind of, I guess you guys are still in that headspace of like, we don't have to follow anything up because what we're doing organically is working.
Yeah, exactly. And we do wish like everyone, I'm sure every artist has like if they get to a certain level, they have the song that probably acquires like 90% of their fan base, right? And then
Yeah.
that 90% then percentage of them delves into the rest of the catalog and finds their favorites. And then, majority of that 90% still probably focuses on the one or two hit songs or whatever it is. So it's kind of like that. It's just like understanding that like we may never have another song that, or maybe we'll make so many hit songs that the song's completely like forgotten about and becomes like
Yeah. A
one of our
rock.
songs that we can take out of our lives.
The
That who
deep
knows?
cut.
That would be a blessing.
Exactly. Yeah.
That would be a blessing. But not that I don't like playing. It's just saying like that just means we have a lot of good songs.
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah.
But it kind of just feels like there was no pressure on us and we weren't trying to recreate anything. Everything was done from scratch. And then I think that allowed us to really show a lot more growth and expand our horizons and have a lot of more diverse sound for this album and what's coming with the next. And we're going to start, we're now currently writing what's eventually going to be coming some next year or the year after that or something. So
Gotcha.
Come on. So, how do you recommend your fans listen to this album for the first time? Should they do it in the car with friends, start with headphones on? Should they work out to it? What do you personally recommend?
I think a good first listen would be like maybe going for a walk or a run with headphones on because I think it has a lot of energy. And it's great record to like work out to. Um, I think our next record is gonna be the same way. Like there's really no like ballads on it. Everything has energy. Like there's no like there's like there's an acoustic song. Like everything has energy. Even like the more lovey-dovey songs still have like a lot of energy and fun stuff to them. So I would say like front to back, obviously listen to front to back, and maybe just like good headphones in, AirPods or some over-the-ear noise cancelings, and like on a nice walk where you can just enjoy the sunset and listen to it.
Hell yeah. Love it.
Beautiful.
So this question should be super, super quick. Off the top of your head, I want you to describe this album for new listeners in 3 words. No more, no less.
It's a buffet of awesomeness.
Buffet of awesomeness.
It's
There you go.
Awesomeness is a word.
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah. It is.
It's a
Hell
word
yeah.
now.
And in the same vein as the last question, but not as much pressure, is there a certain feeling or emotion you want this album to evoke in your listeners?
I think it has a lot of different emotions, a lot, but I'd say that like overall, just we try to exude like positivity, like
Mhm.
um positivity and just loving yourself. I think is really what it is. We don't try to like dive into things that are like super serious because it's just not who we are as people. Like if
Yeah.
you sit around and talk, like hang out with us, it's like, oh, we're not talking about like politics or wars. Like we're talking about like Pokemon and like, just the quoting movies and stuff. So it's like for us to go write stuff that has a serious, deep meaning. If we don't actually believe that, we'd feel kind of like posers, and I don't think it would come off as genuine. So it's really just like hopefully puts a smile on people's faces and exudes like brings positivity into your life.
I love that.
Absolutely.
Hell yeah. So can you talk about any particularly challenging or standout moments in the creation of the album, positive or negative?
I would say that we kind of had a thing where a lot of this when this music was created, this is like a unique thing about it, was when this was created, we had a different lineup where we had two guitar players, and now I'm the only guitar player. So I
Must
like
be
learned
insane.
it. I learned it all, and then I had to like learn it all again, and then we had to figure out how to go translate this live where like everything was written with two guitars, which is just a really unique challenge that's been in the process of like translating it to it living outside of Spotify and outside of like just people listening to it,
Yeah.
the live aspect of it. So that's been a challenge. Um, and I would say when it comes to recording it, like lyrically, since we didn't come with a ton from the jump. Lyrically, it was like a lot of us just sitting there trying to think of stuff, and that's can be very taxing on your brain. Where like everyone is creative fatigue, but we have 4 hours left in the studio, and we have to get this done. And when you're not drawing from like this is a song about this personal thing I went through or this experience in my life. And when everyone's collaboratively doing it and no one's drawing from one specific moment or like I wrote this song, check it out, is a lot of voices in the room, and it just like I think can make the product better, but it
Mhm.
also just makes the process a little bit more excruciating and long. And there's some times where it was like, we just need this one line for this song, and seven people have opinions, and we have to figure it out. So I'd say like that would be it. Was just it being so collaborative sometimes made it more challenging.
That makes
Makes
sense.
plenty of sense. And for the last couple questions, we're actually gonna shift away from music, if that's okay with you.
Yeah.
Cool. So if you could be one animal for the rest of your life, which animal would you be and why?
Shit. That's tough. I mean, I'm a cat guy,
Mhm.
so
Mm.
like I could try to come up with a smart answer, like I want to be a turtle because they live to be to 120 years old or whatever it might be, or I want to fly. But it's really just like I think I love cats, and I have three myself, and I think just like you get to someone comes home and loves on you and feeds you and leaves, you can sleep in the sun and then just get to live a very relaxing, chill life. So I'd say a cat.
A
Great
cat.
answer.
Solid pick.
So if you could have lunch with any celebrity artist, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Man, I think I'm gonna go Aussie. Aussie,
Yeah.
like I know it's recent, but now I think about it, I was like, man, I would have loved like I would thought like maybe someday I will be able to have a conversation with him. I'll reach the point in my career where I could. And now that I can't, I think I want it. I want it even more. So
Yeah.
Aussie just seems like he'd be a good hang.
I
There
agree.
you go.
Got a lot of wisdom and knowledge up in that brain of his.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm. And for this last question, boom, you're on a deserted island. You could bring one movie, one album, and one person. Who and what are you bringing?
The person I gotta bring my girlfriend, or she.
Yeah.
No, like not that that's not my answer, but also because she would kill
You
me if
have
I
to.
didn't say that.
Yeah.
So,
You'd
Exactly.
be
I mean,
sleeping on
because
the
who else are you
couch.
fucking bringing?
so I'd bring
Yeah.
my girlfriend and one of my cats, hopefully. And then or all three.
There you go.
The movie.
Hmm.
It's really tough. Maybe Big Lebowski. I can just watch it, and every time it feels like I'm watching it for the first time. I don't know. It's
Oh,
I
yeah.
love it. One of my absolute favorites. It's also kind of mindless and funny when it's funny, and it actually goes nowhere. Just love that movie. That or maybe the original Ghostbusters. That's probably my favorite
Oh,
movie. So,
classic. Yeah.
original Ghostbusters. But and then an album you said?
Hmm.
Mm, I would say the album would be. That's really tough. Life's Not Out to Get You by Neck Deep. Let's go with
Oh,
that.
yeah.
I can just put that on at any time, front to back, and every time it ends, I'm like, oh,
Damn it.
Run it
I feel
back.
like there should be another song or something. It's so
Yeah.
good. So let's go with that.
All right.
Great pick.
So as Gloria said, that's all the questions you have today. Is there anything that you would like to plug?
I would love to plug that everyone goes and streams Mixtape Friend of the World Volume 1. Um, and check us out on social media. We are Felicity everywhere. We're on TikTok a lot. And we also have a exclusive Discord server that's totally free where you can join. And if you're a Felicity fan or just newly discovering us, you can join there and get exclusive discounts on merch, talk to the band, connect with a bunch of like-minded fans who all like the same type of music as you. And it's a great community of people. We have about 400 people in there right now, and you get every announcement first. So before we post anything on social media or release a song, like everyone there gets it first, and it's will always be totally free. And yeah, come hang out there with us.
Hell yeah.
Beautiful.
All right. Well, thank you. Now it's been Drew from Felicity, and we have been the Good Noise Podcast.